Three steps how to create your 3x3 team.
So to create a 3x3 team, in three steps, the first thing I would suggest is get a group of four that are willing to train together and watch and engage in 3x3 basketball. Anyone can just jump on a court and then try and play the game. But if you really want to be a team that's actually playing well together, that actually competes, that wins some stuff, then you need to be watching it and playing it and just engaged in 3x3 overall for a longer period of time than just like the time of the tournament or the week of the tournament. You really got to be enjoying the game. So I'd really recommend that everyone watches all the events and that you when you're playing together, you're sharing content together and you're understanding various plays, and that way your understanding of the game improves. And then once you get onto the court, just playing as much 3x3 as possible. That'd be my first step. The second step I would suggest in terms of creating a team is just understanding that people play lots of different positions. You don't play as like a forward or a point guard or whatever the case may be. When you're playing offense and defense so quickly, you could be playing defense on a big at some point, and then you could just be playing defense on a quick faster player. You got to understand that in 3x3, you got to play everything. You know, we call them like tweeners, right? So you got to be able to do both. You got to able to play offense and defense. There's no point being an individual player that's just willing to like or just wants to play one type of the part of the game, you know? So that would be the second thing. I'd say make sure that you've got a team that are able to do everything. The third thing I'd suggest is chemistry. You know, you've got to be able to have good chemistry on the court and off the court. You know, if you're not together, if you're not able to share a bit of fun off the court and be able to understand each other, then on the court, the chemistry will change too. So the more you can do together as a team, the more in if you've got staff, if you've got coaches, even if you've got people that are willing to play with you, then the better it can be in terms of building chemistry. And that chemistry will build through playing in having experience. So make sure you're just playing as many games as possible, get as much experience as you can together as that group, as that unit. And that can be the best way for you to be able to play as a team and hopefully win some events too.
Second tips, mistakes to avoid when you're starting a 3x3.
Mistakes in 3x3 is a really interesting one. It's quite a funny one. So the first thing, without a doubt, is do not think as a player that you are already fit to play 3x3. People think because it's a half court, it's a 10-minute game, we're only playing to 21. Ah, it's easy. Like, yeah, that's fine. I can do that. The number of times that I've seen players exhausted because they just think, oh, I can just jump on a court and I can play, even if they're already fit. You know, even if they're playing another sport and they're playing 3x3 and they think, oh yeah, yeah, I do this sport, I go to the gym all the time. You got to be, you got to understand that 3x3 is just a kind of it's a different beast when it comes to playing. So conditioning is different. You know, it's literally called a 10-minute sprint for a reason, you know. Um, and I think in that same in that same vein of like of the I think in that same vein of like being fit and ready is to understand that like when you jump onto a 3x3 court and you've got 12 seconds to shoot, um it is really intense and it is really dynamic, but playing more of it will understand that you can also be patient sometimes. You don't always have to rush a shot. You don't always have to rush to the basket. And I think a lot of people do is they play one on one, especially younger players. All they do is play like one on one, one on one, one on one because they think, oh, I'm on a court. It's like street ball. I'll play one on one. And I think a mistake is underestimating the importance of team basketball in 3x3. Even though there are three of you, and even if you're playing a lot of two on two, you know, like a lot of screening or rescreen actions and stuff like that, it's still team basketball. Like 3x3 is still a team sport. And so players can get exhausted or they can lose energy or they can lose focus. You know, when they lose their energy, they lose focus. When that happens, all they think they need to do is just like try and get to the basket. Just I just got to try and get to the hoop. I got to make a shot for myself, whatever. And they kind of lose the element of team basketball because they know there's a shot clock. They know the time's running down. And so patience goes and decision making goes and stuff like that. So I think just playing more of it helps. You know, going straight into a 3x3 game is a challenge. But if you've been practicing, if you've been training a lot and you understand the nuances of it and the time, then you'll be a much better 3x3 player, I think.
How to find funding to launch this 3x3 project. Good question.
That's a very good question. That's very good. Look, funding in basketball is always a challenge as a sport, and I don't think that's different for anyone around the world, unless you're certain teams in America or or perhaps in Asia where they get loads of funding for 3x3. Um, but specifically, uh, there are lots of benefits of 3x3. And there's funding that can be applied to those benefits. So what I mean by that is there is social funding available. So if you want to get involved in 3x3, then maybe a local authority or maybe local sports funding to help local community groups can be there for you too. But also if you can show potential in 3x3, moving up towards an elite level, then businesses might be willing to invest. But like with anything, any startup, no matter whether it's basketball or not, a lot of the time it's going to be your own funding, it's going to be your own investment, and it's going to be family and friends that believe in what you're trying to achieve and trying to support you, you know. And then once you build a team, once those team players are willing to invest in it too, once the coaches and staff are willing to invest in it too, then you can start approaching more sponsors, bigger players, bigger people. But it's like with anything, you've got to start off however you can start off, and the beauty of 3x3 is it starts off as a street ball game. You only need four players. So you don't need a huge amount of funding to make it work. You can go across to another country, especially in Europe, for quite a cheap price. You can stay in a dorm. You can all sleep in the same room. You can do it and not in too expensive. You can all get cheap kit, you know. So you can try and apply for major funding, but if you're just starting out, you don't need to worry about that. The key is to get into events, get to tournaments, play, get experience, and then start winning.
And how to manage player when they play 5-on-5 and 3x3 at the same time.
Oh, that's interesting. Um, in my own experience, because obviously this is all about the experience. There is a kind of cutoff point from when the players have finished their 5-on-5 season, and then they have to change their mentality and their playing style and their physicality into 3x3. At the moment, especially in the UK, we don't really have 5-on-5 players that are playing 3x3 at the same time. Our 3x3 is predominantly in the summer. And it's very rare for them to be playing 3x3 if they're playing 5-on-5, unless it happens to be a Christmas tournament, like something that I run, the Christmas Ball. Um, but there is that transition period from 5-on-5 to 3x3 when they finish their 5-on-5 season. And that is interesting. An important part in terms of like helping a player or supporting a player in that kind of transition, that mindset from 5-on-5 to 3x3 is by sharing information, sharing content, like letting them know about what their summer's going to entail, what events are we going to be at. Start sharing content like the FIBA 3x3 World Tour, the Women's Series, sharing bits of information, but then also just get them into that mindset, get them ready, and then starting to get them into the physicality of it. So maybe their S&C is going to change slightly. Maybe their routines are going to change slightly, but also get them together as a team because chemistry is really important too. So as I've mentioned, so it's really difficult to get a full-time 5-on-5 player to quickly snap into 3x3. But but it can be done over a short amount of time as long as you're willing to support that journey very quickly into it. And more often than not, players being who they are, especially on the London Warriors, they'll transition very quickly because they're great at what they do. They love the game and they're great at getting into 3x3. And then what I love is when they say, "Oh, we just want to play 3x3 more." Like, "Oh, now I've got to change back into 5-on-5," and it's like because they have so much fun. They have so much fun playing 3x3. So it can be a challenge, for sure. But like I said before in my previous interviews that we had, um, like the goal would be to try and ensure that we can actually create 3x3 full-time 3x3 players. But they benefit a lot in their 5-on-5 by playing 3x3. Spatial awareness, ball handling, communication. There's a lot of benefits to playing 3x3 and then going back into 5-on-5 too.
Agree. What skills do you consider essential for a 3x3 basketball team manager?
Oh, patience. I think you need a lot of patience as a manager. I'm the general manager for the London Warriors team, but I've been acting as the program manager and team manager for GB teams. Um, I think patience is very good. I think trying to get a grip on the future, where the team will be, what the journey will be, what events, and trying to be in touch with those people at those events ahead of time is really crucial. But also understanding that, players have individual needs. They have individual needs. They're in a different place mentally a lot of the time, in their own journey, their own basketball journey too. And I think just trying to be able to support them is really crucial. But the most important thing, and this is for, it doesn't matter what team it is, who you're managing, how pro the player is, how junior the player is, being transparent, being open is for me the biggest thing, because why would a player trust you if you're not telling them everything, you know? And I think there's by building trust with players, like team player chemistry is significant, is really important. But if you are being a team manager and you're leading the organization or you're helping them to get to a place or a location, they need to know that they can trust you to bring them to that place, to that area. And I think being really open about things, which includes the challenges as well as the good things, it includes the certain problems that we might have, as well as, hey, look, this is where we're going, this is how exciting it is. Um, Builds a chemistry amongst staff and players that is essential for everyone to going into a tournament in the right mindset, you know. But so I think being open is really cool, really clear, but also just, transparent and positive, you know. Like we're in 3x3. It's great. The game is great. The opportunities we're being given are amazing. And the future of 3x3 is incredible. So why wouldn't you go in there with positivity and energy? Like the players will feed off your energy too. So um it's tiring. So you need to take care of yourself too. Um but that's the role.
How to use social media, so social networks in a 3x3?
Ah, how to use them. All right, well, I think that's probably twofold. So one is like what to do, and the second is how to use them. The first thing is just get in touch with as many people doing 3x3 as possible, no matter where they are. The best thing about 3x3 basketball is the community, the worldwide global 3x3 community. Everyone is just willing to talk to everyone and speak to everyone. And during COVID, when things were slightly shut down, I got in touch with like a whole bunch of people, like head coaches, federations, like people like, and I started building a relationship with them because people had a bit more time, but also I felt like now's the time to like really get in touch. But it doesn't need to be COVID or downtime for you to DM someone, to message someone on Instagram, to connect with someone on LinkedIn, to tweet someone, because I found that everyone in 3x3 is all striving for everyone to improve, you know. When I have my basketball camps or my coaching or whatever, obviously Rise 3x3 is my organization. And we always do the hands in, and it's like 1, 2, 3, rise, 4, 5, 6 together, right? Like everyone wants to rise together. That's the point. And I feel like that's part of the global 3x3 community. After the Europe Cup, everyone was celebrating together, no matter where we positioned. We were all like, it wasn't just because of the drinks, it's because everyone is really engaged. So I would encourage anyone that wants to be involved in 3x3 to just reach out to as many people in 3x3 as possible. If you see someone with a title, the first time I ever did this in 3x3, I typed in 3x3 and FIBA 3x3 into LinkedIn, and I just messaged as much people as possible that had that in their profile. That's literally how I started getting in touch with people. Um, and how to use it, just learn as much as you can, and also just build relationships and be open to stuff, because based on that, you know, we're being invited, around the world to competitions. We're learning a lot, um, and and we're engaging with people in 3x3 where we wouldn't have the knowledge or the connections or anything like that. And so, I would say go out there and connect with people in 3x3. Um, and and who knows what might happen. I think you just got to be really open-minded about it. And if you've got specific questions about plays or running events or tournaments, then you can ask someone and maybe they don't know the answer, but they know someone that does. So I just go for it really. Like in 3x3 in particular, the family is so good, you know. Everyone's willing. Everyone's willing to talk and everyone loves it. Everyone's passionate about it too.